Vanakkam. Today I am going to take up another very important topic in FEMA 1999. That is foreign investment made in debt instruments. It's a very important topic, and because a lot of people they want to invest in India. So what are the rules and regulations that everyone has to follow that I am going to discuss? Here, before going to the presentation, I want to say a thing that the views expressed by me here is my view. For clear understanding of the matters discussed, I request the viewers to please go through FEMA 1999. I am not responsible for any wrong interpretation. With disclaimer, I am presenting the subject for your easy understanding. And with this opening, I want to start with the regulatory authority. Who is going to regulate the debt instrument issue? So this is with effect from 15/10/2019, there's a change. That is, the central government is responsible and they are the person who is the regulatory authority for the capital account transactions. But with effect from 15/10/2019, debt instruments have been omitted. And this regulation of debt instruments power goes to Reserve Bank of India. But here, the central government makes rules with reference to non-debt instruments. And RBI is going to make rules for debt instruments because non-debt instruments, the rules have to be made by central government. For debt instruments, the rules have to be made by Reserve Bank of India. But the control of FDI, foreign direct investment and foreign investments, still lies with central government. And in this presentation, I am going to discuss the following important points. That is, investment in debt instrument in India by foreign portfolio investors, NRI, OCI, that is overseas citizen of India, foreign central bank, multilateral development bank, others. They are going to make the investment in the debt instruments. It is based on the repatriation and non-repatriation basis. Repatriation and non-repatriation basis, and how they have to bring the money into India and how they have to take the money from India. That is purchase and sale of debt instruments. Whether RBI permission is required or not, whether general permission is available or whether specific permission is available, that we are going to discuss today. And investment means to subscribe, acquire, hold, or transfer any debt instrument or unit issued by person resident in India. That is, a person in India, he has to issue an item. For that, someone has to subscribe, acquire, hold, or transfer any debt instrument or units issued. That is called as investment. And mode and taxability in India. So whatever income that you are earning from India that is taxable, the money has to come to India through the banking channel. And now we are going to decide about the debt instrument. So such transactions as may be determined by the central government in consultation with RBI. So both RBI and central government, they have to sit together and decide what is a debt instrument, and the central government specify the debt instrument and non-debt instrument. So definition of debt instrument and non-debt instrument has to be given only by the central government. Now, the central government has given the list of non-debt instruments. That is, all investments made in equity incorporated in India, whether it's a public, private, listed or unlisted, LLP and capital formation, all instruments of investments as recognized by foreign direct investment policy, investments in units of alternative investment funds and real estate investment trust and infrastructure investment trust. And fifth one is investments in mutual fund and exchange in traded funds which invest more than 50% in equity. That is next one is junior most layer, that is equity tranche of securitization of structure and acquisition, sale or dealing directly in immovable property. This is a list of non-debt instruments, contribution to trust and depository receipts issued against the equity investments, are coming under the category of non-debt instruments. Now we are going to see what are the debt instrument list. One is government bonds, Second one is corporate bonds. All tranches of securitization structure which are not equity stretch, and borrowing by Indian firms through loans. Borrowing by Indian firms through loans, and depository receipts whose underlying securities are debt securities, and commercial papers issued by companies, whether permission is required or not. That is, permitted commercial securities are called as list of debt instruments. Here, next head is debt instrument investment by person resident outside India. Normally, they are called as non-resident. Person resident outside India. What is the investment procedures? That is, he has to first make the application to Reserve Bank of India, and Reserve Bank of India, based on the sufficient reasons, Reserve Bank of India is giving permission to person resident outside India to make application in debt instrument, but everything is subject to terms and conditions of mentioned by the Reserve Bank of India. But RBI here, they give the specific or general permission. And fully accessible route for investments by NRI in government securities is opened by central government. And next one is there any restriction? Is there any restriction without RBI's general permission or specific permission? Because without RBI's general permission and specific permission, if any, no, so with permission only you have to do it. Otherwise, debt instruments, you cannot make investments. Investments in debt investment you cannot make, and an entity, an Indian entity or mutual fund or venture capital fund or firm or AOP or proprietary concern, there is a restriction, but they have to get the permission from Reserve Bank of India, whether it's a general permission or specific permission. But without, not to receive any innocent person outside India, without getting the permission, no one in India, that is any Indian entity, mutual fund or venture capital, he received the investment from person resident outside India towards the debt instruments. Indian entity is called as Indian company or LLP, and the venture capital fund is called as a fund established in the form of a trust, a company, including body corporate and a registered, including body corporate and registered under SEBI. And now, after the receipt of the fund, companies may go on merger or demerger or amalgamation or arrangement. What we have to do? So that is also clearly defined in FEMA. That is, Indian company received FI in its, that is foreign investment in its debt instrument. That is, then after that it goes for amalgamation merger with the other company. In that case, a scheme of amalgamation or merger has to be approved by NCLT, that is National Company Law Tribunal, and the Indian company has to issue to that person resident outside India either redeemable preference shares or non-convertible debentures out of its general reserve by way of bonus shares, which is subject to the following conditions. That is, original investment made in Indian company by person resident outside India is as per FEM Debt Instruments Regulation 2019 and conditions specified in the relevant schedule. And issue is in accordance with the provisions of Companies Act of 2013 and the terms and conditions specified by NCLT in a scheme. That is, you have to follow the NCLT's scheme because it's a merger. And Indian companies should not engage in any prohibited activities. That is, if there are a lot of items, say real estate have been prohibited, so those companies should not engage in any activity or sector which are prohibited. And now you are going to sell. You have to make the remittance. So who has to make the remittance? It is the authorized dealer, because any instrument, if it is sold and if it is repatriable, then the person resident outside India, he will sell the debt instrument and he can get the money from authorized dealer. So by way of transfer in accordance with the regulations stated, that is, that transfer can be net of applicable taxes if the instrument was held on repatriation basis. In case even if it is not held on repatriation basis, if the party wants to, that is, person resident outside India, he wants the money, he has to apply to the Reserve Bank of India, and as permitted by RBI, the money can be transferred by the authorized dealer to person resident outside India. Debt instruments invested by foreign portfolio investors. So far, we have seen person resident outside India. Now, the investment is made by foreign portfolio investors, that is on foreign, that is outside persons, they want the money back only on the dollars. If they made the investment, they want the money only in dollars. So that is called as repatriation basis. On repatriation basis, the money has been invested by FBI, and they have to make the investment as per the conditions stated by SEBI and RBI. And they have to follow the following debt instruments. That is, for the following instruments, they can make the investment. That is, dated government securities and bar treasury bills. So, bearer bonds are not allowed. Bearer government securities are not allowed. So, dated means within 2 years, within 3 years. So, that is called as dated government securities. And non-convertible debentures and bonds issued by any Indian company. And commercial papers issued by an Indian company. Units of mutual fund, exchange traded funds, and security receipts issued by ARC. ARC means Asset Reconstruction Company. Asset Reconstruction Company is a company registered with the Reserve Bank of India under Section 3 of the SARFAESI Act. So normally this is if anybody wants to invest in ARC, that is Asset Reconstruction Company, the Asset Reconstruction Company issues, just like deposit receipt, they are issuing some receipt. That receipt is called as security receipt. And the debt instruments issued by banks, they are also eligible to receive the debt instruments investment from foreign portfolio investors, and credit enhanced bonds, and listed non-convertible preference shares and debentures. It is not PF, it is preference shares and debentures, and securitized debt instruments, and rupee denominated bonds, units issued by infrastructure debt funds. Then municipal bonds. All these are called as debt instruments for anybody who is called as foreign portfolio investors. They are permitted to invest in this debt instruments. But this debt instruments, after that, they can be taken as collateral security for the transaction that they have to carry in the SEBI. That is, with the stock exchange, it is allowed. So it is permitted by the Reserve Bank of India. That is, foreign portfolio investors can offer this debt instrument as collateral security. Then after that also they can do some transactions. And investment limit in government security and debt instruments is as per the norms fixed by the Reserve Bank of India. Only to that extent you can make the investment. And report by foreign portfolio investors. Suppose over the counter transaction is without exchange. If there is any transaction has taken place, then that has to be reported by FPI to RBI, foreign portfolio investors to RBI, because without any recorded transaction, they made some transaction outside. Then that has to be reported. That has to be reported to RBI, and that is undertaken by the market participants other than the negotiated dealing system, order matching platform as per the required, as per the RBI requirement. Now, VRR. The VRR is called as voluntary retention route for FPA. So that is a specific way in which money has to come from abroad. That is from the foreign portfolio investors. That for that, RBI, along with that is in consultation with the central government and SEBI, they have introduced a separate channel called as VRR. VRR means voluntary retention route, which enable the FPI to invest in debt instruments in market in India. FPI who wants to make investment debt instruments have to hold certain percentage for a certain period. So minimum percentage they have to hold, and the maturity period is also minimum. For say suppose if it is for 1 year or 2 years, they have to hold the money which they brought through VRR. That is voluntary retention limit. And the investment is to be made by FPI on voluntary basis. So that there should not be any condition, there should not be any force to make the investment in the debt instruments. And other regulatory norms are not applicable. Suppose if, because it has been approved, this VRR is being approved by Reserve Bank in consultation with CG and central government and SEBI. So no other regulatory norms are applicable. Now, investment in debt instrument by, so far we have seen person resident outside India and FPI, foreign portfolio investors. Next one is investment by non-resident and overseas citizen of India on repatriation basis in debt instrument. What are the rules they have to follow? So any limit, without any limit, NRI and OCI, they can make the investment on the following instrument. That is government dated securities. Other than the bearer securities, they can make the investment. Treasury bills, units of domestic mutual fund or ETF, which invest less than or equal to 50% in equity. Public sector units, bonds in India, bonds issued by infrastructure debt bonds, debt funds, and listed non-convertible preference shares and debentures. Are very, very simple. What is the money should not go out of India? That is one thing. And you should not convert this into equity capital. So in that, NRI and OCI are allowed to be allowed to invest in India, and banks' debt instruments are also permitted. Investment in national pension scheme, and that is the annuity and accumulated savings, can be repatriated. That is a specific permission given by the Reserve Bank of India. If anybody, that is NRI and OCI, they invest in NPS, that is National Pension Scheme, the money can be repatriated. The said instruments can be also offered as collateral security. Suppose for any transaction that they have traded in exchange in the derivative contracts. So that is that based on this collateral security, the NRI and OCA, they are allowed to do the transactions. Now, in the last slide, we have seen the non-repatriation. Sorry, repatriation. Now we are going to see the non-repatriation basis. So without any limit, they are permitted to make the investment. Same thing, government dated securities, it is permitted. And investment in non-convertible and in preference shares and debentures, that is also permitted. Here, this is an added thing. So any NRI and OCI, they can come and invest in chits in India. Chit funds. In chit funds, it is permitted. That is, so they are saying that investment in chit fund is a part of debt instrument. So an NRI and OCI, they can come and invest in debt, that is in chit fund. Those chit funds should be authorized by the registrar of chits or an officer authorized in this behalf by the state government. So this is additional information. So you can come and any NRI and OCI, they can come and participate in the chit funds. Invest by the foreign central bank. Now, next category is foreign central bank. They are also permitted to make the investment in government securities on non-repatriation basis. It is so repatriation basis is not allowed. Only on non-repatriation basis, you can make the investment. So foreign central bank or other purchase or sell securities in government securities. But here it is on non-repatriation basis. But all the terms and conditions have to be given or it will be specified by the Reserve Bank of India. And here, what is central bank? That is what our Reserve Bank of India, same rule. The bank which controls the financial operation or financial all the central bank functions of the other country, which is subject to that country's laws, law for the timing in force, they are called as foreign central bank. And it is just like our Reserve Bank of India. Now, here, next portion is, yes, we are person resident outside India, NRI, OCI, and foreign commercial, foreign central bank, and development bank, they are multilateral development bank, they are going to make the investment. But how to purchase? How the payment has to come to India to buy the debt instrument. It's a very, very important thing. Purchase by FPI, that is foreign portfolio investment, they have to bring the money through inward remittance channel, inward remittances, that is from abroad, and through banking channel. So that means money has to come from outside India through banking channel. Or the funds held in foreign currency account or special non-resident rupee account, specifically for this type of transaction. So money has to come from abroad or from the foreign currency account, you can transfer the. Next one is purchased by NRI and OCI. Same rule. Here, money has to come by way of inward remittances from abroad or from NRE, FCNRB account. So any money which has come to NRE and FCNRB account has already come into India through proper banking channel. So that is also by using that balance in the NRE account or FCNRB account, can make the purchase. And purchase by NRE or OCI, non-repatriation basis, or subscription to National Pension Scheme by NRI, paid out of same thing, paid out of inward remittances from abroad or through banking channel, or out of the funds held in NRE, FCNRB. Here they have included NRO. So for non-repatriation basis, NRO account can be added. Now, purchase of government securities by foreign central bank and MDB, that is same as usual, the same. It has to come through normal banking channel from outside India or out of the funds held in the account opened with a specific approval of RBI. So that means NRE, FCNRB. So out of that you cannot make the payment because both NRE and FCNRB are not applicable for foreign central banks and MDB. Next one is purchase by other non-resident investors. Other than this, anybody wants to buy debt instrument, that is also permitted, but money has to come through proper banking channel from abroad. Now, purchase is over. You are going for the sale. So in purchases, normal thing is from outward, you can bring the money into here and there. If there is any money in NRE and FCNRB with the restricted permission, you can use it. Here, now the person who has made the investment debt in the debt instruments, he wants to liquidate. So after liquidation, the money has to be taken back. What are the rules that you have to follow? Here, person resident outside India can sell his debt instrument only after getting RBI and SEBI permission, subject to the terms and conditions. And now, sale for remittances means you can take only net of taxes, because whatever amount due in India, you have to pay the tax. Only net of taxes you can take the money, it is permitted. Then remit by RPA, foreign portfolio investors. Now they can take the money, but the authorized dealer, he has to give credit to foreign currency account or SNR or account of FPI. Now, next one is remit by NRI and or OCI. Is credit to NRO account if it is a non-repatriation basis, because from NRO account you cannot transfer the money unless until it is coming under the category of LRS, Liberalized Remittance Scheme. So credit to NRO account and credit to NRO account if the funds have been utilized for to purchase the debt instrument from NRO account. That means from NRO account at the time of purchase of debt instrument, if the party has that is NRI or OCI has used NRO account, the money has to be given credit only to NRO account. And remitted abroad or at the option of NRI or OCI, give credit to FC and NRE, FCNRB or NRO account if it is on repatriation basis. Suppose if the investment is made on repatriation basis, then money can be taken from India to abroad, or the credit can be given to NRE, FCNRB account or NRO. Next one is remit in other cases, can be remitted to abroad or credited to account opened after getting the permission from RBI. So we have seen the purchase of debt instruments. We have seen the sale of process. This is a very, very important area because a lot of funds are coming to India. And what are the rules and regulations? Because the real person to India is, that is to increase the deposits are called as foreign portfolio investors, then person resident outside India, that is normally called as non-resident, then OCI, NRI, then foreign central bank, MDB. They are the regular investors in India in debt instruments, and the definition of debt instruments is being classified by the Reserve Bank, by the central government, but the regulatory authority for debt instrument is Reserve Bank of India. And I am once again closing my today's presentation. Thank you very much for the patient hearing and watching today's presentation on foreign investments in debt instruments. Nandri, vanakkam.